I built this place because I would be the best customer, and I still am. Mhm.
Dude, you're prolific. You've done everything. You are most currently the founder of Recenter, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. But like you've done it all, man. So like when you think of yourself, what do you think? Like what comes to mind? You're like, oh, I'm Ben. I'm a entrepreneur. I'm a founder. I'm a like. What comes to mind?
I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is I'm a little tired, and not I'm a little tired, and and really being very conscious of old habits, specifically around pushing more performance, more performance, more performance, which has sort of been the default for me most of my life. And, I get it, but I also don't think that's really the path forward for us right now. I don't think we need more performance in culture, society, and various sectors. I think we need more like grounding energy for these next couple of years, especially with this AI arms race and just like everything that's happening in the world. So what I think about is how do I find balance? How do I find balance between wanting to be a high performer, wanting to have more success, wanting to create more and build more teams and do more things, along with tapping into another energy that is a lot healthier for me. It's a lot better for me. It's better for my masculine. It's better for me as a future father. It's better for me as a partner. It's better for me as a leader. Um, and it's one that requires slowing down and stillness, which is something we struggle with a lot as founders.
Hmm.
And this is something that I've noticed, scanning, doing over 600 nervous system scans in the last year, on mostly high performers, several billionaires, and this kind of epidemic of burnout and dysregulation and chasing, seeking, building, and all that stuff. Um, and and yeah, so I'm asking myself a lot of questions right now, especially the last couple weeks. The AI stuff takes over most of my attention right now, whether me wanting to be a builder and get into Claude or just thinking about like, holy shit, like we may not be around in 6 years. And I don't know if my parents really understand the scope of that, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And you kind of oscillate between the two.
totally. Yeah.
So what are those questions that you're thinking about? Like when you said I'm thinking about a lot of stuff. What
Well,
what are those questions?
I mean, I think for one is I think that we're heading into trouble. Um, that's for sure. And it's just to what degree, um, and what's the scope of that trouble look like? And can there be sort of a conscious collective awakening that happens prior to take certain decisions, namely around speed? And I don't know, or I don't think there will be. And I instead think something's gonna happen, and then that potentially, hopefully, will create more awareness, more whatever needs to happen, more legislation, more unplugging certain things. And I and so I yeah, so I think every day lately has been like, why am I struggling for this when the future money is really not going to be that important? Land, water, community, family, education, being able to homeschool, being able to create ecosystems. That's the business to be in.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. when you're talking to all these people and you see so many different types of people and who have the quote unquote strappings of success, like at least externally from what our society values, like high net worth individuals, high performers, etc. Has there been anyone, and you don't have to say names, but anyone that like you've identified as like, oh, that's it, like that's they've made it, like holistically? You look at them and you're like, I want to be more like you than not like you.
Yeah.
And if so, what does that look like? What are the traits and attributes that they have?
So that it's only happened once with like billionaire or someone worth a couple 100 million who playing at, the highest of highest levels. Um, and I was surprised how well he scanned because most of the people at his level look like they need to go to the hospital despite their peptide protocols, how big their sauna is, how many, you know, times they do breath work per day. Those guys are some of the most dysregulated people actually. And it shows up entirely on their nervous system scans. This guy just had a different aura, and that's one of the things that my team and I have just become really intuitively connected to this work. Is we just kind of know we know who's going to scan bad. We're like this guy's going to get his brain's going to be black. So we're
Dude,
probably
wait,
right. So we
so
do a nervous system scans. We use
yeah, what does that mean?
technology. We use technology that's called ECG. That's sensory based. All it's doing is it's giving you a much longer, more robust uh, readout of what's happening to your heartbeat and the variability of your heartbeat, which shows your stress, how close to you are to burnout, um, things of that nature, your biological age, actual age, lots of really, really interesting actionable data points. And so, how this differs from Aura or Whoop or biometrics on the market is those do a quick scan and it's mostly passive. Like your score was 59 last night. You're like, what the fuck does that matter? What is that? Is that good? Is it bad? It actually creates another thing to worry about because people are
Right.
now running around. My HRV score, it's high, low, sideways. And so it's really not useful. We have a 11-page report. We have programming, we have a schedule, we have all these things that are actionable for you to modify. And this becomes especially useful for women who have 2 weeks of their cycles probably shouldn't be doing any ice plunge or maybe very little. And so
Mm,
this tool helps them uh, understand what interventions might be really regulating for their nervous systems. So
got it.
back to this gentleman. Um, yeah, I just felt his aura, and I was like, "Ah, this guy's doing something right." And so scanned him. He was almost perfect, 100 percentile, everything. Um, went, I was like I didn't even know who he was. Like he'd sold some business for a couple $100 million. I wasn't familiar with the company. Looked him up on LinkedIn. Saw he was a complete legend. So I was like, I gotta get some time with you. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Why are you? I'm the owner of this place. I'm way more stressed than you. And um, so he had all this success. He had got divorced, lost half of his wealth, and had been on sort of an eat, pray, love um sabbatical. Like my understanding was he had some real estate, but he was very not like kind of agile. Had an apartment in Miami and otherwise would like, I think I want to be in Switzerland for a month or two. I want to be here. I want to be in Estonia. I want to be there. And um he had uh, you know very good looking young partner too. I think that helped. That always is a nice motivator. Um but I think more than anything, he uh he had kind of gone through a phase of losing half his money, realizing like it's not it can't be the only thing, can't be the only driver. Going on his own spiritual journey, like spending time in places like India, um, and having the resources now to carve his next journey in a in a way that supports him. And in his case, he's still kind of figuring it out, and he's still um, just enjoying the fuck out of his life. And I think that And I thought that was, yeah, something to take note about. On the other hand, I've scanned people that are like totally dysregulated, or they should be, and burnt out, and scan like 20 to 30 years younger. And I'm like, how's that happening? And I had a conversation with someone. I think one might be a sociopath. And so I wonder if that affects, I have to look into that or ask ChatGPT. Um, but sometimes we do get surprises. We do get surprises. One of the things that's common, not that common, but maybe one in every five women who come leave leave older or more stressed out. Um,
Okay.
and that's because they're going through an emotional process. And so something comes up at this retreat or at the stay that has kind of pushed them to have to deal with it, and make decisions and make certain changes. And so it's actually a good thing because it brought something to the surface that had been delayed um, for too long. And through the work that these women do and the somatic work, energy comes up, and that energy um, is what pushes action. It's what allows us to kind of reimagine what our life looks like when we actually feel good and happy and healthy, and have done the things to enrich in the quality of our lives.
Sure. And you've kind of described yourself as a CEO who experienced burnout, and so you decided to make a business about burnout,
Yeah.
right? Like that's so how did, walk us through Recenter a little bit. Like what was the concept? How did you come up with it? And then like because it's insane what you built.
Like I said, I'm tired. um it's pretty cool. I mean, I think what yeah, I mean, what I'm most proud of is how adaptable and and scrappy and startup as we are. Like, we actually are what we preach. And so the origins of it was I wanted to build a small house for myself in Costa Rica. Being a, scope changing maniac that I am, and just super severely ADD, I had the idea to create a space for men's retreats. And I had done a couple of men's retreats, and my hypothesis was there are all these high achieving men who really are burnt out and need help. And so I sort of validated that assumption to some extent with the men's retreats that I did at different locations. But I thought, oh well, if you build the temple, they will come. And I think now the next step of that is actually building real estate and a dedicated space. And so we were heavily focused on men when we were just starting out. Like, we even had a reputation. Oh, that Recenter is just a men's retreat place. And I tried to bring in my peers and tried to really connect with the concept, and it wasn't really working with men. Men are super challenging customers with wellness. I think in general, but wellness for sure. And so there's not a growth loop that exists with men. If they go and have a transformational experience, they're not going to tell 10 or 15 men. Maybe they'll tell their brother or their mom or dad. They'll keep their circle tight, but they're not going to talk about it because they don't want to be perceived as soft or weak or vulnerable, or being in competition with other men, which is obviously a big one. And so they weren't really like doing the work. They were just like, I was like, oh fuck, I think I failed. I'm like, I thought for sure I just sell a project and it's just not working. And so I couldn't figure out how to like get the business to a point where it could break even and then grow, and what was product market fit. And so I did what every startup founder is supposed to do, and I just took a step back, and we just started to listen, and I really just embedded myself in all aspects of the business at this point, in terms of the customer interactions and speaking and asking questions. And suddenly women just started showing up. And the women who started showing up all were, let's say, late 30s, early 40s, single, C-suites, high performers, lawyers, VCs, doctors, and they were all burnt out. And they were all looking for a major life change. I think that women are the ones that are leading this. We need to learn from them, but learning how to reorient um, life in this new chapter we're all in, and what is important, and prioritizing our emotional systems and mental health. And um, I spoke with a few women. What would be their dream place? Took notes, built a type form, got 87 replies to our offer, which was a combination of personalized, cycle synced, movement, community, food, space for high achieving women. And yeah, it was that feeling, this intuitive feeling. I was like, "Oh, holy shit, I think I struck a nerve," because I built, 500 products in my career, apps mostly. I personally have never really seen product market fit like this way. And it wasn't so much that how much they were willing to spend or how big the market was. We all know they're, 50% of the population is women, and they spend a lot more money than men on wellness. So those two things aside, um, the speed at which they filled out the form, that was the most unbelievably impressive data point that I was tracking. Like a multimillionaire woman would fill out a form at like 10 p.m. on Tuesday about nervous system resets and cycle syncing. Like the point is the intent and the energy was so strong that you send that same link to a man, it would take him a month to fill it out. He'd send
Wait,
it
wait,
to
wait. But so you were going through, you were having these challenges. You're like, okay, I want to do a men's retreat. It's not
yeah,
working. And
yeah.
then what did you do? Because you said I just took a step back and suddenly women started showing up. But like you were doing something. So what were you doing when you took a step back and you did you change anything? Like what?
No, I just took a step back and I started to like see what was going on. And it was women who were coming to the place, either booking through Airbnb or a website, and were looking for something. They were looking for something that was different than what we had thought the business was. Obviously, it was a wellness place, a place for health and recovery and all these things. But women were asking for very specific things, namely cycle education and how to structure a vacation or a retreat around their cycles, which prompted a whole new deep dive and discovery for me, spending, the next 100 hours reading every single women's health book, every single women's podcast, tons of conversations with Claude about it. Um, and then, of course, talking to more women, doing customer development, building, and maybe this is the part I didn't explain correctly, building a type form and just asking questions.
Okay. And so what were
The questions were, what would be a dream retreat for you? What are you currently struggling with? What's lacking in the market? What's causing your burnout? And what we realized was, I think 80% of the women we polled were burnt out.
that's do you think that's some sort of a self-selecting bias though? Because you're sending it to probably super successful high net worth individuals, and so they're more likely to be burnt out, or not necessarily?
Um, I don't know. It's hard for me to be able to say that for sure. But what I'm noticing is burnout is much more severe for women right now than it is for men. And the main difference is there's intent and interest and energy in wanting to change that and fix that. Whereas I think men just accept it as their baseline, or maybe become crazy incels or something else. But they they let that energy metabolize onto them, where women don't. They were like,
Interesting.
I don't want to live this way anymore. This fucking sucks.
Right. Right. Huh.
So
Okay. So once you started getting those type forms back, that's when you noticed, okay, there's a lot more women coming than men. Let's lean into this.
yeah, getting over my own limiting beliefs, like what the hell's straight man running a women's health business, and how are women going to trust how are women going to trust that person? Um, that lasted for like a couple months because the reality is I got on all these sales calls and I realized like 95% of women don't actually care. Like they're totally comfortable sharing so long as they have specific facilitators that are women, there are other women on the property, they have community, they feel safety. They're working with professionals. There's people they can relate to, their age groups. And so long as your container has that, it doesn't matter, you know? And so
Hmm.
I got over that pretty quickly. Started bringing in the best women that I could find in somatic work, embodiment, nervous system, creating this category of what a nervous system coach is. Um, it's like your own personal wellness concierge. And that's a whole other business down the road that we're we're contemplating. Um, and and yeah, and so the business itself is kind of modeled after a rehab center. You know, it's like a high functioning rehab center. So it feels much more like a home than a hotel. It feels like a high end curated home, and there's little details from the dog to the fragrances in the rooms to our bedding, and it doesn't feel like your typical hotel. And for that, we call it a residency. People stay 7, 14, or 21 days. Um, the longest guest has stayed 2 months, and um, everything is personalized to you. And so you learn about what you need based off your energy, your hormones, your desires, your goals, and that covers the entire span of your community, your social circle aspects during that trip. Um, your movement practices and types of movement practices, obviously the wellness club, and how to use the equipment, the order at which you use that equipment. So basically, these protocols, um, and and obviously just like plenty of time for beautiful spontaneity and adventure, and just like I don't want to do anything today. I want to just sleep, or I want to take Pacha to the beach and walk with her because I miss my dog, or I want to do a last minute juice cleanse, you know? And so it's very much build your own adventure, obviously with our guidance, but you being much more in control and having agency over your time than like an overly structured retreat that counts your calories and takes your phone away at, Friday at 2 p.m. Like we want to be with people and people who come to our property, like they know they need to get off their phone. Like like we don't need to sell them this. There are plenty of people who still struggle. There's including myself. I built this place because I would be the best customer and I still am. And so there's always an accountability aspect for me to be able to practice what I preach. And believe it or not, my nervous system's actually pretty good. Despite how crazy it is running this place, at least the last year it's been for me. But I think that's because I've really had to what I was talking in the beginning of the call, like remember to slow down. Remember that your health and your nervous system is so much more important than anything else, any deal, any
Hmm.
opportunity. Um, and that's the brand now. So like kind of have to practice that and live it and believe in it. And so yeah.
So how is it different? Like, how do you find yourself? What do you do like day to day if you're like, I'm not feeling it. I can feel it like that because I'm sure by now you can feel when your nervous system is starting to get deregulated or dysregulated. So like when you feel that, what do you do?
Um, I mean, I have a PDF, I have a Notion doc I'm gonna share with you. This is a buddy of mine, Johnny Miller, who's like one of the leading experts on nervous system. And he built these protocol cards that are great. and exactly for what you're describing. I'm gonna send it to you here. Um, and so I don't know if I go and open an ocean dock every time I feel dysregulated. Mostly it's my sister who's dysregulated me probably more than anyone. Um, but I mean, if I'm home and if I'm in Costa Rica, sauna, sauna is my number one favorite. Sauna and ice is just amazing.
Okay.
Um, and I've measured that, so I've seen the massive reset that comes from sauna ice, and also just people with inflammation, Lyme disease. Sauna and ice is probably the one of the best things out there. With
But so
red light.
do you get into the trap then of like, because you were saying before, it's like you don't want to be the person who's always checking the things like Whoop and all this stuff. It like makes you more stressed than it's like another thing
Hmm.
to stress about. So how do
Yeah.
you balance like not stressing yourself out more?
I don't track anything. I mean, I don't wear an Oura ring. I don't. I mean, I have a Garmin for just tracking workouts. I did the nervous system scan maybe once a quarter.
Okay.
How I avoid falling in the trap of over optimization is feeling, learning how your body feels, which is very hard for men, much easier for women, but starting to be more intuitive with yourself and with your body, so that hopefully you don't need to have check engine lights. When I go to the doctor, I'm 90% diagnosing myself, knowing what I have, knowing my things, um, ordering my own lab kit, my own, like I'm completely driving it. And I was doing this before ChatGPT. I just had a different relationship with my health than most people. And now with the tools, like I, I'm like a UCLA hospital in my pocket, and so I have all the freaking doctors and experts, and literally in my intelligent box. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, I just some I- something feels off. My body starts sending check engine lights,
Mm-hmm.
and and I just learned to trust it. I was in
Yeah.
LA doing parasites, a parasite detox, very common in Costa Rica. I knew it would be a mistake to go to the GI doctor here. I've been dealing with. I know how to treat parasite and gut health issues for the last 10 years. My mom made me go, forced me to go, blah blah blah. Spend $900. The guy didn't help me at all. I go do my own work, get my check my own labs, work on it with Claude, and I do combo this morning in Topanga with a shamanic healer, and you know, in 25 minutes, I purged out stuff that is way more deeper and probably a lot more um, poisonous than antibiotics and long courses of antibiotics and the things that introduces. And so, just being much more natural, and being
Mm-hmm.
much more connected to my body, knowing what I need, building my own protocols, saying, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do 3 courses of antibiotics and spend $1,000. I can go to Topanga, spend $280, do 20 minutes. And that's a scary thing for a lot of people. There's still a stigma around it. My mom, for example, you're going to Topanga to put frog poison in your arm? What the hell's wrong with you? The reality is this is a peptide that's going to be legal within the next 2 years, but it's still stigmatized. It's still like, what the hell is this guy doing? But
Right.
it's just as it becomes more acceptable and more mainstream, and we see people doing alternative treatments and having better results, paying a lot less money, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about like because you said you think about like a lot of questions recently.
Mhm.
When you think about like do you think about your success in your career in terms of like there's a goal that you want to get to, and if so, what is it? Or is it more day to day than that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a monetary goal that I haven't hit. Still have a little bit of time, but I haven't hit it. So that there is that. I wonder if I did that. that would have satisfied me, or the post would have just changed again. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But yeah, I would say I'm working towards a goal for sure. Um,
What would you do? Let's say you hit that goal on a
yeah,
Tuesday
yeah,
and you wake up, you go to bed, you find out, like, you check your bank account that night right before you go to bed, you're like, "Oh, wire hit."
yeah.
You wake up, it's Wednesday. What do you do?
I think the first thing I would probably do is, like commit to a strategy of what I actually want in my life. And that might be a 1 month, it might be a 2 month, there might be a traveling component where I do some inspirational, creative idea, brainstorm stuff. But I'd start working on my life plan, what that life plan looks like without the constraints of, oh, I have to do this because I have to pay the bills and I have to, get that thing. And, if those things were answered for, what does that life plan really look like? And what does that ikigai look like? Going much more beyond just commercial aspects. Um, I think for me too, there's like definitely like a teaching component, there's an art component, there's a music component, there's certain things that I feel like I've been a little bit self-deprived of because I've been so focused on this hustle train and wagon. And so I do think there's a major component of being able to invest more time and space into arts, education, um, things that are getting a totally different, creative mojo going for me. Um, I probably would relocate my family outside of the US. I mean, it we're s we're still here because 'cause we're American and, we're proud Californians, but it's just life is just so challenging here and cost of living is so high, and I think that with resources, there's so much better places and environments in the world that are, eh, healing, that, check the community bucket, that, are good for old people and good for young people and, and so forth. And so environment, where do we wanna live would be something part of that life map, you know, strategy. Um, I'd wanna really do an inventory, of my life, who's been in it, um, who do I wanna have in this next chapter, who is in there that might need a little extra support right now, and I'm now in a better position that I could be there for them. I think that would be nice, an audit of, "Cool, you reached this goal. Now how could you give back? How could you show up? How could you be in service?" Especially to the people who'd been there the last 20, 30 years, whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds
Mhm.
like a kick-ass Wednesday. What's something you've changed your mind about recently?
Um, I mean, I think being in sort of like a tech crypto anarchist type of environment, starting with my previous business, and just being around guys that were always on zero hedge and wanting to build bunkers and
What's
regenerative
zero
farms.
hedge?
Zero Hedge is like a trading website that's like super red pilled, that has like a bunch of conspiracies and stuff like that. And hardcore Bitcoin heads. And I thought there was some interesting stuff, and I'd been in Bitcoin, since like 2012, 2013. So definitely an early adopter. Um, but I thought, a lot of these guys were lunatics for all the other shit. And turns out they weren't, which is kind of crazy.
Wait, what do you mean? Say more.
Well, my business partner, my old business partner, he was talking to me about Jeffrey Epstein in 2015. He was talking about the plane and the plane logs, like, guys on Reddit who are so-called, conspiracy theorists have proven a lot of this stuff correctly, and
Mm-hmm.
also had foresight specifically with AGI and AI because a lot of them are nerds. They're
Right.
engineers, they're software
Right.
guys, and so they have a very specific lens into the future that most people don't. And so thinking that, for example, my business partner was crazy about half his shit, and then like being so right about pretty much 80, 90%. Sometimes I just write him a message like, dude, you were right about everything. And so we're now living in a reality where it's not kooky or weird to um, be prepping or building bunkers. All the billionaires are doing that. Every
Mm-hmm.
single one of them has multiple bunkers at this point, and hideouts and regenerative sustainable systems in case they're in this location and they need one tank of gas, Mad Max shit.
Mm-hmm.
And and so that changed for me in the last year
So are you
where
prepping
like
now?
I am thinking about it a lot more. It's getting a lot more of like my attention in my brain. I wouldn't say it's got me full on paranoid or anything like that, or storing rice in my garage, but it's got me like thinking about it more. And usually what that leads to is some kind of action, or plan, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So reading a lot more, watching a lot more YouTube on AI and the futurist, uh, sci-fi audibles, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what is the stuff that you consume? Like, are you a big reader? Are you a big podcast listener?
I go through like very different seasons. I'm not really consistent with the medium and my habits around that. So when I'm reading, I usually like to read on a Kindle with the words and whisper sync because I have kind of ADD dyslexia. And so when I read the letters with the highlight, I can actually speed it up and like read at 1.5 or 2x.
Mm-hmm.
And so I enjoy it and I read super fast with that method. Um, I would say right now I'm not really reading anything consistently. I'm doing mostly podcasts and then podcasts on YouTube. Um, and then just some kind of like random YouTube. Um, I I know I think Instagram is probably the most poisonous like one of all. I'm not on TikTok. That's been for years. I don't want to be on TikTok. I know how bad that is. Instagram I am because it's good for work too. But like I constantly delete it and I just like I don't even want it. I don't even want it on my phone. And so that's kind of a one that I don't get too stuck in doom scrolling, but you could just be checking it all the time and checking your likes and this and that, and it just becomes this whole habit. It takes over you, and I don't even want it. So I just delete it, and then when I need to use it, I'll reinstall it and then delete it again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So YouTube podcast, Spotify podcasts as well. Different music, different kind of like thinker meditation people as well. Um, that's mostly it right now. Mhm.
Very nice, man. Very nice. Where can people find out? Where can they learn more about Recenter? What's the what's
So,
the
recenterlife.com is the website. The Instagram is instagram.com/recenterlife. And yeah, well, we've had our first location open in Santa Teresa for the last 18 months. So if you find your way in Costa Rica, give us a shout. Come by for a visit.
amazing, man? You're the best. Thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Jeff.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.